You've programmed in p5js before, then you know that p5js has an online web editor, and it's a really nice editor. It's very easy to get a new program up and running. You don't even need to log in to do it. You can just go there and start typing a program and then run the program. If you have an account there, which is free, then you can go ahead and save your work and share your work easily. It will give you a link that will give others access to your code, access to their own copy of your code so that they can play around and modify their own version of your code. It's really nice. I'm a big fan of the online editor, but you may find there are times when you would prefer to do your programming online on your own computer using your own text editor, maybe locally rather than online. There's some benefits to that. Managing files and things like that can be a bit easier. I have over the years written quite a few programs in p5js, and there's not a really good way to just download all of those or even to delete a bunch of them in batch. And so that kind of can be a frustration at times. And so if you do your own programming in your own text editor, then you're able to manage your file system a lot more easily. One of the other things that's nice is if you have written code in p5js's web editor, you can go ahead and download that code. I'm going to just preemptively do that here. Let me download a copy of this Perlin noise terrain that I made, give it a simpler name. I'll store it on my desktop and call it Perlin terrain. And I'll show you that once you have downloaded something that you made in the web editor, you can go ahead and open it and run it in your on your computer's text editor. So I'm going to show you this now in using Visual Studio Code. You can go to Visual Studio Code or visualstudio.com and go ahead and download it if you haven't already. I've downloaded it and I've installed it, but I haven't set it up yet for p5js. I'm going to show you how to do that. So if you haven't already, go ahead and download and install Visual Studio Code. And now I'm going to go ahead and run VS Code and show you what you need to do to get it set up. So, all right, I am in here now in Visual Studio Code, and I need to add the extension for p5js. So I'm going to come over here to extensions and search for p5. And when I search for p5, one of the options that I'm going to find is p5.vs code. It's the one I believe that has the largest number of downloads. There are others out there, and you could certainly try the other ones, but I'm a big fan of this p5.vs code. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that one and install it. It should install pretty quickly here. I've got the auto update on, so if there are new updates to this extension, they'll automatically be updated. And so that's done, and I can hide my extensions. And so I'm really ready to go. What I would like to do next is to start a new project. Now, if you're going to be doing a lot of programming on your own computer in Visual Studio Code using this technique, then it would be good to have a folder where all your programs are going to go. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder. Let's just call it P5 projects. And now come back over here. And now I want to go ahead and create a new p5js project. If I come up here, there's a command built in that will do what I need to do. It's built into the extension. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. On Windows, you can type Control-Shift-P, but what I'm really looking for is this show and run commands. And then I'm going to type P5 and see what my options are. One of them is create p5.js project. That's the one I want. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that one, and it's going to ask for me to identify a folder where I would like that to be. So first I'm going to find that folder I put on my desktop, and then in that folder, I'm in my P5 projects folder. I'm going to create a new folder, and let's call this P5 demo. And then I'm going to select that folder as the location. And when I select that, it's going to go ahead and put into that folder the files that I need for my p5js project. You can see those over here. It gives me some libraries that I need, including the p5js library itself. I'm not going to do anything with that. It gives me the web page because all of these p5js projects run within a web page using JavaScript. Probably the one that's going to be most used by you is going to be sketch.js. This is where your code's going to go. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at that here. I've already got a little bit of a program here. I'm going to modify the program. This is kind of the standard code you would see if you created a new project using the web editor as well. It gives you a setup function and a draw function. It creates a canvas and it sets the background. I'm going to take this background 220 out of here so we can actually see what's going on. And let's go ahead and make a circle somewhere in a random location. Circle. Notice, by the way, part of having the p5 extension is that the p5js catalog of commands is available to you, and is documented to you here as well. So that's something you don't get with the online editor. So let's just put a circle with a random x and random y, so random width and random height. And maybe a diameter of 50. And I'm going to go ahead. Now, I would like to run this. It's going to run in a web browser. So I'm going to, in order to run it, and again, this is part of how this process works, I need to run it using a web server, a local web server. The web server extension is actually included when I install um, uh, P5, the P5 extension. So here's that P5 extension. And what I also get with it is this, I'm looking for live server. Here it is right here. This live server will also get installed with it. And that's really the thing that's responsible for um, running your code. All you really need to do is when you're ready to run your code, go to the web page here, index.html, and just right click on it and choose open with live server. You can see there's a keyboard shortcut for it. On Windows, you would hit Alt L and then you would do type Alt O. But I'll go ahead and do this, and what's going to happen is it's going to open a web browser window, and there it is. There is my program, and it's running. Um, So what's nice here, I'm going to go ahead and let me rearrange my screen a little bit here so that I can see um, both pieces a little more easily. So let's put the web page on the right and the code on the left. What's nice is if I make changes to my code and then save those changes on Windows, it's Control S. Saving will automatically cause the web page to update, and that's part of its running in the live server and part of using these tools. So every time I make a change, let's say I want to make the circle red, so I would say fill 25500, and as soon as I save it, it does that for me. If you would like to save yourself from having to save your code repeatedly, you can turn on autosave. This is just a feature in Visual Studio Code. Under settings, there is autosave, and if I turn that on to after delay, basically that's saying if I pause my typing, that delay is going to cause the code to save, which in turn is going to cause this code to run again. So let's say I decide I want to make this a yellow circle instead. So I add that to it, and without even having to type save, it's automatically rerunning my code with a new random location, but now it's using yellow. If I wanted it to be green, just take it out and it's going to update automatically. So I really appreciate that ability to automatically let me see changes to my code over here. Again, you can do these same things in the p5js web editor. You can turn on a feature that automatically will show your changes live as you're typing them. And you can decide whether that's a useful feature or not. Suppose you want to actually display something to the console. When you're working in the web editor, let's take a look at the web editor for a minute. In the web editor, if I were to put in a print statement, print, or I could do console.log, if I were to print hello, that hello would show up down here in the console in the p5js web editor. When you are programming using Visual Studio Code, let's do the same thing, print hello. That's going to go to the web's console. And so when I go ahead and run it again, I'm not seeing it here, but I can bring up the console. And there is a shortcut for bringing up the console off the top of my head. I don't remember what that shortcut is, but if I were to bring up the console, I can see the hello is showing up over here. So there's my hello. If I were to change it to goodbye and let it run again, yeah, there's the goodbye. Um, so it's really quite nice how it goes. Now remember that I had previously downloaded this terrain generator as a zip file. Let me show you how I can open that up in Visual Studio Code. So I have this, it must be in my downloads. Let me find it here. Thought I download, oh, there it is. Perlin terrain. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move that into my P5 projects. And then let's unzip it into its own folder. So I'm just going to extract all. And now all I need to do in Visual Studio Code is to open that folder and then run the code the same way that I ran my demo program. So if I were to come over here and say open folder, I can go to my desktop, find the P5 projects, find Perlin terrain, and that is the folder that I actually want to select. And there are the files. These are the ones that had been on my web editor. And then if I just right click and open with Live Server, there it is, and I've got it running here, and I can make changes to it directly in my, let's go to sketch.js, and I'm just going to change some number that I know what it does. Let's change this to 20, and it should automatically save and show me the new version here. So that's really it. The big step is really just to install the P5 VS Code extension and then use that extension to create a project. And then when you're ready to run the code that you put in sketch.js, you can right click on the index.html and just say that you want to run it with open it with the live server, and you'll get your code over here. And again, you can turn on autosave if you would like, and that will automatically update your code. Just remember that when you save your code, that's when it will change in your web browser. And if you have autosave on, then that will just happen automatically for you. And that's it.